Hello, everyone. I love to keep people informed about some fun little details. Now, for those of you who may not have been aware, I have launched the live between both my YouTube and my TikTok here. Those of you who are on the TikTok, you get to see a fun background. Those of you who are on YouTube, you just get to see a plain gray gray walls background. Now, a lot of people may ask, why am I addressing this? The reason why I'm addressing this is even though the Republican Party is in power, the Republican Party is not actually acting like the conservative party. One of the key elements that I always like to remember to tell people is about government's role in regulation. And a lot of people do not get this specific element. And there is literally two parts of the Constitution that address this directly. One being the First Amendment, which states Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of the speech or of the press or of the rights of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That is your First Amendment. The second amendment that clearly reins in the power of the federal government is the powers of the not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or permitted by it to the states are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. So, the first key element that everyone must understand about conservative government is this honoring the constitutional limitations. The Republicans in Congress are not honoring that. They are point blank violating First and 10th Amendments. Is they want the federal government telling the states, oh, you can't have this book, or you can't do diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is not something that the federal government itself has a right to do toward the state governments or the individual companies. They cannot legally dictate that based on these two amendments of the U.S. Constitution. And I got a very funny story for you, but it's going to happen after I read another excerpt. It's an excerpt from a book called Justice by Professor Michael Sandel from Harvard University. And it is, start off, a question, should government be morally neutral? The idea that government should try to be neutral in the meaning of good of the good life represents a departure from ancient conceptions of politics. For okay, that that is actually not what I thought I was reading. Okay, we're not going to read that. But we are going to another one, another concept, and it is something from former Governor Mitt Romney. This kind of, and it's talking about why nations decline. This kind of collapse is not unique to nations. We've witnessed business powerhouses lose their lead to upstarts, United Airlines, Southwest. The fall of leaders doesn't make sense in the private sector either. Da, 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 da. Why is it that the great fail? It's a question America must ask, not only because we are the world's leading nation, but because this continuation of our lead has been called into question. Now, I'm going to say this very bluntly. We should not take any of these moves from the current administration as small things. I'm going to tell you a little story. I was going through college. I finished my my associate's degrees at one of the leading community colleges in California. I decided I'd go to a private, religiously ran school in Virginia to get my bachelor's degree in business. Well, I had an encounter with our current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, as my professor. Now, here is the weirdest part to the story. Having a government teacher at the community college, leading community college in California, that was a libertarian, got this limited government thing so well done that when Mike Johnson tried his little indoctrination stunt, abusing the intent of the Constitution, my responses made him have to admit his own weaknesses on that view. And just remember this. I wasn't even done with my bachelor's degree at the time. I made this professor look like he was a dumb in front of the entire class. I wasn't even doing it intentionally, it just happened. Another thing that we must remember is when our country was founded. We were founded off of having government overreach in several areas of life to the point of physical persecution. So when we talk about this First Amendment here and this 10th Amendment, those were put in place when this Constitution was written as protections from the federal government becoming too powerful. And now we see the Republicans in Washington saying, "Oh, we want DEI out of the Department of Education, or even further, dismantling the Department of Education, which frankly is, from a utilitarian standpoint, stupid. Um, a ridiculous notion, because when these departments were set up, they were set up by legislation to help manage that sector. They did not overboard take over the sector. It just helped manage it. So when we're talking about the Department of Education, one key element that is not being considered is all these students that have IEPs or 504 plans to help them be the best successful students possible. We cannot take this for granted. When I decided to start doing these lives, I decided we needed to have an actual discussion. Now, here is one of the biggest issues that I see is because the Republicans have been, the Republican Party has been co-opted by the MAGA movement. If there is any chance of getting conservative principles back in the spotlight, somebody needs to be there to stand up and to fight like a dog to get the party back, because all this smoke and mirrors is being done by Trump, Vance, Elon. It's not conservative at all. It is authoritarian and bordering on potential abuse of power. Did I like the other side? No. But I did not feel comfortable with either side, frankly. And the difference here with myself is I have lived where the other presidential candidate had actually actively been an attorney general. And if you actually lived it and actually were paying attention to it, she was not that effective of an attorney general, so she should not have ever been promoted to senator or VP. Even from their own standards. That is not something that you normally should actually be able to hear. Now, I do want to pose a question. And something that you guys can start putting in the comments here if you feel like it. But where does government's authority to dictate personal liberties come from? That is something that I believe a lot of people, when they talk politics, they do not actually take the time to consider. And that's also another reason why I do things differently. And I'm not going to be this person who goes through and does all this fun stuff. Because I'm not the same kind of person that you normally see live streaming. I want to talk about things that do have an issue, make a difference, and do need to be discussed. Frankly, I'm glad that Elon is losing so much data. Well, because of Tesla, is he should not have been anywhere near a government agency. He is not even officially listed as a government official, thus not really having a legitimate place at the table. He should be booted immediately. Now, for those of you who are on my TikTok live stream, I'm still going to go a little bit longer, but we're going to deviate from the topic here. But I'm going to be actually right now ending the stream on YouTube.